Hey, what's up, operators? Today I had the pleasure to sit down and have a one-on-one with Clarice. We covered some great questions. We covered iPads, we covered lighting, we covered settings on Touchpix, iPhone settings, how to stanchion off an area, insurance, and all these other things that entail the 360 booth business. What I'm gonna be doing, guys, moving forward for my one-on-ones is when you guys book a one-on-one with me, I'm gonna upload a video with 360 booth content, and I'm gonna go ahead and title it 360 booth and whatever city you're located in. In addition to that, in the description, I'm gonna put your website information and social media handles so that my YouTube channel acts as a backlink for you guys and you guys get more exposure. This is gonna help you guys get a video on the first page of Google when you're ranking for certain keywords. This is just another way of me helping you guys out. Now go ahead and enjoy this incredible video I have with Clarice, who resides out here in California. Take care. By the way, if you want to book your one-on-one with me, you already know the link is in the description box below. Peace. Your momentum you have going on, because so far you have 2 events, which is great because you got real experience. Is there any takeaways
Yes.
from those 2 events that you wanted to cover?
Yes. Well, first event I did, I only had a phone, just the iPhone. I had no sharing station and I had a TV. And I would 10 out of 10 don't recommend that because we had it was a bigger turnout than we expected. And we had a lot of people coming up wanting their video while we were doing spins. So I literally had to like do spins and then stop and give them their video. And it was just creating just
Chaos.
yeah, as you can imagine. Yeah, chaos, exactly.
Yeah.
So we've learned have a separate sharing station because it's needed, especially if you have a larger event.
Okay. So
So
real quick, just to kind of add to that. So I've had the same setup in the past, and what works better for me, Clarice, is continuously using that iPhone throughout the event, but instead of the TV having the actual iPad sharing station, the TV is more of an external display, and sometimes a QR code won't show up on the TV. So it's more there for presentation and not so much for efficiency to optimize the process of getting that video processed, rendered, and to the client's iPhone. So I would highly recommend, with time, just depending on how you feel, not taking it, loading up the tripod, the TV, and doing all that crazy hard work when all you really truly need is a partner. And I see the iPad sharing station as like the assistant that's next to you that kind of helps alleviate some of that. Hey, excuse me, miss, when do we get our video kind of thing, right? So,
yes, yes, exactly.
yeah, do you have an iPad?
No, but I'm like ready to get one now. And that's like one of my main questions. So
Yeah.
we were practicing without the TV. We were kind of relying on the TV more for us to see when it was ready to record. And then it just kind of distracts them watching the video,
Yeah.
which when you're doing your first event, you kind of want them distracted a little bit while you're trying to figure out things. So for that, in that case, it worked. But going forward, we don't want to bring the TV.
Okay.
And so the issue we were having during practice is when the countdown was ready.
Okay.
So, like, for example, we would do like a pose, and we were noticing that we were not capturing our initial pose because when we were doing the countdown in our head, it wasn't aligning with the recording.
Okay. Yeah. So what I do, what works well for me, Clarice, is I set the timer to anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds, and I
Okay.
set it to the beep. In most situations, you'll be at an event where the DJ is doing his thing, and you can't really hear that beep, that countdown, and that's totally fine. You can still be very visual. And what happens is when you press the arm and you go, then and the phone starts rotating, right? As soon as the phone moves,
Yes.
you can in your mind, as soon as you see the countdown pop up, just say 3, 2, 1, action, because it's only going to take 3 seconds for that recording button to get triggered. And that's how I do it. People ask me all
Okay.
the time, like, David, how do you know when the phone's recording if you're not using an external screen? And that's very simple. You'll see, because first off, the arm usually takes off kind of slow. If you notice, as soon as you press the power button, the arm takes off kind of slow, and as soon as it takes off, I would say from the time it actually moves, I give it 2 seconds buffer, and then I know the countdown starts 3, 2, 1, because I can either see in the reflection or when the phone comes back around at an angle, like say like it's here now, I can see the
Yes.
timer, And once I see the timer, I know that I'm gold because it's going to take about 3 seconds for it to start recording or less, depending on where it's at when I see it from that angle. So just be confident on the phone's timer. And like I said, are you using a standard iPhone 12, 13, 14?
It's a 13 Pro Max.
13? And it's a big screen, because it's a 13 Pro Max. So the screen is pretty big, and you can actually see it in the day and especially in the nighttime that the timer is being activated, especially when it's coming around. Have you noticed that, or you haven't really experimented
Yeah,
that way?
I noticed it. Like I can see some of the times I can see the number at the top.
Mhm.
Most of the time I can see it. But there was like two times where I couldn't see it and we just guessed and my guess was off.
Okay.
So
Are you using?
yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable using the trigger motion, or do you rather set the timer on the phone, hit it, and then press the power button for the arm to rotate? That's something that try to experiment with and see what you feel more comfortable with. I haven't changed it. I haven't switched it up since I got started, Clarice. I like
Okay.
I like the motion trigger. Um, just me, but I've been to other events with other operators where they rather press the button and then hit the remote to get the arm spinning. Now, I totally support the idea of you being more efficient with your setup and not having to take that big external screen along with the tripod and then trying to find a location where there's going to be a wall outlet for both your either Apple TV or just your Apple and just your TV in general. Um, just to kind of save you some time and sometimes even headaches because there will be interference sometimes where your TV is not communicating with your phone, which means you have to reboot your application, refresh the application, or just sync them up again. And that's just an extra thing that can go wrong when it comes to synchronization. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I've been really successful without the external TV.
It's true. Yes. And so, and because that's the one of the issues we had with the TV was the delay and the lag.
Yeah.
And so it was just more seamless without the TV. It was faster. We were able to get more people on the booth.
Yeah.
It was, like I said, the only thing it provided was a distraction and then the visual for me.
Yep.
But we want to move forward to work without that.
Okay, cool. So one thing was the TV and the timer, right? And then people also expecting the video right there and then. Also, sometimes you're gonna come across a issue, Clarissa, and I'm just kind of setting you to think kind of like into the future. Sometimes what will happen is the iPad sharing station won't be doing its thing. It won't be uploading the videos fast enough. So you'll get people to come up to you, and while you're trying to direct the people on the booth, they'll be asking you for the video, or excuse me, I'm having issues. Excuse me, can you help me? And just keep your cool and let them know, guys, you're not leaving without your video. We're gonna airdrop it in a few moments if the iPad isn't working. Also, let them know that the host, that the main person from the event, will have access to the entire gallery, which is a link that they can share with them the very next day. That way, they know that somehow, some way, they are gonna end up with that video in their phone, and they're gonna show that video off on social media. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally understandable. What else you got for me, Clarice?
Okay. So another thing is now when it comes to Touchpix, the settings on the phone,
Okay.
um, I wanted to know like what's the best settings to get like the highest quality video. Um,
Let me do this, Chris. Let me hook up my phone and I'll share my screen on Touchpix.
okay. Got it.
All right, here we are. Cool. How's the visual?
It's good.
All right, so I'm gonna go to settings, and here I am on the camera.
Okay.
And so for autofocus, I keep it at continuous focus. For slow-mo speed,
Okay.
I have it at 120 frames per second for the slow-mo speed. So a lot of operators, when it comes to the lens type, they go to ultra wide, and I share this with everyone, and I tell them I never use ultra wide unless I'm trying to get the entire dress of either the quinceañera or the bride. That's the only time I use ultra wide for like that one video. And
Okay.
when you use ultra wide, Clarice, it gets kind of depixelated, and the resolution is not as crisp and as beautiful and sharp as when you don't use ultra wide and you just stick to standard wide. Another thing too is if the higher phone model, the iPhone, for example, the iPhone 14, The light sensor is a tad bit bigger than the standard 13. So for the people using the iPhone 14 Pro, they're gonna they're gonna get more better colors because the sensor is a little bigger, so that sensor captures more information, more color. Not a drastic difference, but a slight difference. Okay, so that's it for this area right here, and as you can see, I keep it to auto face exposure right there.
Okay.
Now,
Okay. And then so like the 120 frames, that just like versus 60. What
versus
does that mean? Does it just
and this is another great point that you bring up. I've switched back and forth from 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second. And when it comes to the compressed file, you can't really see the difference. It's not a huge difference. So I've rocked out videos and events under 60 frames per second, which means that when it's recording, it's gonna get 60 frames per second. So then when you get those 60 frames per second, right, and you want to either slow it down or speed it up, it's gonna be smoother versus having less frames per second and trying to slow it down, and then you create that lower quality video because there's not enough frames to compensate for that slow motion part.
got it?
Because
Okay.
the video is short, in this case, with this technology, 60 frames per second is good. 120 frames per second sometimes looks a little better. It's almost not noticeable. So that's the camera. And then I'm gonna switch over to here. Let's find it here. And since
Yes.
we won't be using the television in the future, also another thing to point out is live view. You might run into like, oh man, I can't see the people on stage anymore. I'm used to seeing them on the TV screen, right? So just make
Yes,
sure that your live view background is on. You see how it's checked right now?
I do. Yes.
Yeah, so make sure that this is on. And then as we scroll down here, we're gonna scroll down to where it says compress. When you open Touchpix for the first time, you'll see that it's on MQ, which I believe stands for medium quality. I always switch it over to high quality. And then there's, I think, ultimate high quality, which I messed with these two right here. And like I said, to me, there wasn't really much of a difference. So yeah, so please remember to have it at high quality versus medium quality or low quality. Now, when
Got
you
it.
play, when you go from low quality to medium quality to high quality, that's when you actually see also a difference in the video. So you'll be fine if you're using high quality. Plus, most importantly, Clarice, is lighting. The more the lighting, the better. It is just because, like I said, we're using iPhones, and because we're using iPhones, our camera sensors are very small, so they need a lot of light to capture those colors. If we were using a DSLR camera, their sensors, their light sensors are much bigger. That's why photographers take nicer pictures because they get more information and then they put it in their system and they edit the photo. And because there's a lot of data, a lot of information, they're
Okay.
able to really color grade the video or picture. So for us as operators, we just want to make sure we have ample amount of lighting for our production. Now, I'm going to jump over onto my iPhone settings as well because this is going to make a difference when you're trying to download those videos that are unrendered. So for those, when you go to settings and you go to your camera settings on your iPhone, right here, camera, my record video is set to 1080p, 60 frames per second. So it will capture those videos at 60 frame at real 60 frames per second, and that's how I get those videos to look so smooth under these settings. If you do, for example, record 4K at 60 frames per second, most of the platforms where you post your video won't even show the 4K quality. It dumbs it down where it's not using all kinds of data and memory within their platform. So 1080p at 60 frames per second, you'll be gold.
So if I did choose to bring the TV out,
Okay.
I would set it up to the Apple TV just to make it more seamless. I guess to communicate better with each
Yeah,
other.
that initially that was my actual setup. I had an Apple TV hooked up to my, I believe, a Vizio back there. I can kind of see it, and there was a lot of interference between the Apple TV, my phone, and then my phone simultaneously running the Touchpix app. And after so many events, I just continuously had issues, and it got to a point where I said I can't give myself the risk or the headache anymore of crossing my fingers when the main people go on the booth and then I record the video and then it says I believe it says rendering or loading or downloading. That's the part where I would get really nervous because sometimes it'll be interrupted and it'll go into like a black screen, like what the heck happened? And it's because the Apple TV stopped communicating with the iPhone, and it also interfered with the application. And then we have to redo the video, and of course they got to put the props back on, they got to get that energy level back up, and you don't want
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just,
I experienced that with my first event.
there you go. So actually, I did two different Apple TVs, Clarice, because I thought maybe one Apple TV was going bad. So I went to the Apple store and I bought the latest, greatest 4K Apple TV, and I was very confident. I did a lot of test runs here at my house. It was working fine. I thought, okay, cool. It was the Apple TV, but it really depends wherever you go. There's going to be frequencies, and the technician was telling me that there's actually I forgot, he used something complicated, but in the most simple way that I could put it in is there's going to be frequencies that interfere with the signal, and that's what knocks off your Apple TV. So the Apple TV product was good. It worked. It worked at my house because there wasn't too much interference. But at Prime, when you go to venues and events, there's a lot of frequencies going on, and that sometimes interferes terribly with your Apple TV, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay. So then I guess I have no more questions for the Touchpix. So really quick, like if you tell a client you need a 10 by 10 space,
Okay.
that should be enough for the arm to spin and the prop table and laser lights and your lighting and everything.
10 by 10 is the minimum. If they can provide a little bit more, then it gives you more room to work with. And depending if you have stanchions as well, sometimes you have a big open area, like there's no limitation, right? And so you're thinking like, man, how do I block this off now? I'm used to having a small space to work with, but how do I block this off? Because I don't want kids coming from the left or the right if I'm only guarding this particular area, because I'm limited to how much stanchions I have. So that's a thing that you want to think about too when you think of square footage and how much space you have to work with, is not only like, well, can I work in a really confined small space, but also think about what would I do if I had no walls to use as a barrier as well, because kids will be coming from all angles. So that's something you want to think about. And I made a video on that, and what I ended up using is I ended up using some of my tripod RGB lights kind of to block things off, and I also used my prop table to kind of block things off, and then the rest were the stanchions. A quick suggestion is, if you already have stanchions and you actually have the ones with the actual rope, the ones that you latch on,
Uh-huh.
you have
Yes.
do you have that type? The
I
ones
have that one. Yes. Like you latch on 4 ways.
Yeah, so I have so I had the standard. I think it's a 4 foot. Yeah, I think it's 4 feet, right? But I went on Amazon and I bought I believe it's an 8 foot. I bought two of those. So I have the same amount
Okay.
of stanchions, but I bought longer ropes to cover more area.
Okay.
And I like that
Okay.
because that means that you don't have to buy expensive stanchions, and two, you don't have to unload and load up more stanchions when all you really need to take is just longer ropes. It's
Yes. That okay.
not as heavy.
Good.
But to circle back to how much space you need, that's the kind of space you need, Clarice, as a beginner setup, because with time you're gonna get more equipment, and more equipment means you need space for that bigger tripod. You need a dedicated space for that fog machine, and you need some space for
We
the.
have one.
You guys already have it. Okay.
Yeah. And the cold sparks too.
The cold sparks. Okay, so I was gonna get there, but the cold sparks is also the one. It's the one element in your production that you need more than 100 square feet, because there has to be a certain distance between the cold sparks and everything else,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
Because have you used the cold sparks at any of your events just yet?
No, we have one booked for December, but no.
Okay, so keep this in mind. Please make note of this. When you use your cold sparks, there's different granules. There's the small granules and the large granules. Those large granules go up much higher up in the air, and the granules are a bit more. They're bigger than the tinier ones that don't go up so high up in the air. I don't know if you just bought one type or if you ended up getting both bags.
Well, I actually went through your vendor
Okay.
and I didn't know there were two types. So you're talking about the TI powder?
Yeah. Do you know if your bags say large or small?
So they haven't came in the mail just yet,
Okay.
I just know they were, I believe, $10 a bag.
Now, just a quick heads up, if you're doing this indoors with cold sparks, try to either take a broom and a dustpan with you, because
Okay.
when they go up in the air and they come back down, you'll accumulate granules on the ground, and you don't want anyone to slip on those granules because it becomes like slippery, and you want to make sure you're sweeping periodically throughout the night. With the cold sparks as well, you don't want to use them from the very beginning because you don't want to burn through your money on these bags. These bags can get pretty pricey.
Yes.
There was a hey, right. So you can either use one or two cold spark machines. Another thing too that I want to share with you is try to say, for example, let me see. Well, I'll just explain it because since you have experience, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Have you noticed when you press record and your arm is spinning, there's one section of the background that gets captured slow motion? Have you ever paid attention to that detail?
Yes. But I never can like choose what section I want that to be.
Great. Okay, good. But
Yes.
you're aware. Okay, sweet. So,
Yes.
so for me, what I do a lot is when my first three spins is where I'm calibrating myself, and I'm
Okay.
calibrating myself by pressing the power button, and then it starts spinning for those 3 seconds. And I know that if I start the arm from this direction, I know exactly after those three tries, and I adjust and I calibrate. I know exactly what part of the background is going to be showing during the slow mo. That's the part where you want to put your cold sparks. You want to put it during the slow mo part of the background, so your cold sparkles can come out in the background while the video is going through that slow motion. Because it would be a complete waste of money and production if the camera just zooms by the cold sparks and then the slow mo somewhere else where like someone's in the background doing something else. So I just wanted to give you that tip because that video, once it gets rendered, it's going to look great. And those are the kind of videos you want to push out that represent your business.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So if we started from the same area after, like 3 spins, we should be able to tell
Exactly. Yeah, you
where
should
it's
be able
going
to
to
tell.
land.
Yeah, exactly. And as long as you don't change the timer or you don't change the arm from like way opposite from where it initially was spinning, you'll kind of gauge exactly where to put that cold spark. And it's easier for you to set the cold spark machine somewhere safe, not too close to the prop table, because what ends up happening is when the cold sparks go up in the air, the dry ones come back down, and you'll get a bunch of like granules on your prop table. So you want to kind of keep it away from almost everything. And with that being said, once you select a spot for your cold sparks, you can always move the arm around to where it'll get that slow mo, if that makes sense. So what
It
I'm
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, so use the arm to capture the right side versus trying to put the cold spark machine in the perfect place, because you definitely are limited to space sometimes, and this is something that we're still covering. I know this was your second question regarding the 10 by 10, and the cold spark really kind of dictates how much space you need, given the circumstances of what's surrounded. Like, is there areas where it might be sensitive to this, or am I going to be in an area where there's going to be a table set up as part of the event where I don't want to get the people too close to the cold sparks? And that's something you have to keep an eye on, and just kind of visualize and say, okay, I'm going to do it just like this, and this is the safest way of doing it.
Then my next question is about insurance, specifically because I know the one that you recommend going to, but this particular event, it's like a festival outside event, and they had like very specific, um, I guess, standards that
Yeah.
they want you to put on the insurance.
Mhm.
And so my question is, if I was to get insurance with the Thimble and it's per event, would could I get what they want me to put? Like they want me to endorse it to two people,
Okay.
to the city and also to the event name. And they have like a certain dollar amount that they want. I can like make all of those specifications.
Well, it's general insurance. So it's a general type insurance, general liability. I switched up from mine from 1 million to 2 million just recently. And when I mean by
Okay.
recently, like 2 weeks ago. And so as long as they have access to that policy, I don't believe that you need to customize it and endorse it to them particularly, because I don't understand why they would request that. You might want
Yeah,
to.
they sent me they want it to be named on the policy. I don't know if it's endorsed is the word, but the exact sorry,
Because
let me just get you.
the policy should be covering you as a business, and then as a business
Yes,
provider, you provide that certificate or policy number to them, and then your receipt or invoice should be under their name, so it ties into the policy because the policy is tied to your business.
got it. They asked for two certificates of insurance and endorsements.
Okay.
So they're the first ones who asked me for that. So that's why I'm like,
Interesting. Okay. So the endorsement
yeah,
part, I'm not 100% clear, but when I do events for the school or any type of sector or big venue, the insurance that I currently have through Thimble has always been enough. The only time they said I needed to beef up my security was when it was at the Marriott. The Marriott, they didn't want 1 million liability coverage; they wanted 2 million. That was the only time. So try to kind of get, yeah, try to get to the root of what they're really truly asking for. Just because I think that Thimble or any other insurance should be enough as long as it meets their coverage need. Meaning like, okay, yeah, we need at least a $1 million liability.
got it.
Double check with them, and the information that they provide you with is going to make you that much better as a business individual, because quite honestly that question hasn't came up for me, so I don't have an accurate answer for you that I'm confident to say like, oh, this is exactly what they mean and this is exactly what you need to provide, because like I said, for almost everything the insurance that I have has always been good enough, and they've been satisfied with it, even for the events I recently had for Amazon.
Then my next question is for an outside event where they don't have power and I have to provide my own power. Now, they mentioned a generator. My idea of a generator is something that's really loud.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, is there something else that could be used that's not so loud?
Yeah, so a lot of new generators are pretty silent. They're pretty quiet. I've been surprised. I've seen when I go to parties as a 360 booth service provider, I'll walk over to the dance floor and the DJ or the band has a generator, and it's a very quiet generator. And to me, it's like, oh, that's really neat. And so when it comes to the generators, your production, Clarice, shouldn't really be reliant on a generator. The only thing you're gonna need power for that. So for example, your cold sparks, no doubt about it. You need a generator or a wall outlet. Same thing for your fog machines. Everything else that I could think of is it runs off portable batteries or your anchor, your one of these. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, so this right here, how many strobe lights do you have? Like those cool little RGB lights with the lasers and stuff. Do you have any of those?
I have four.
Are you talking about the
I'm talking about the ones that are on like the tripod.
Okay, you
Yeah,
have
like
four of
that.
these. Okay, so
Yeah.
those run off battery. So you're good with those, right? Because they have the integrated battery.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, mine only stay charged for 2 hours though. We did a test on them. They all
did you do the
like go
method?
dead.
Did you try the method I did? So for these in the back, you know how they have a plus and a minus and an off and a one that changes the color?
Yes.
Yeah, so once they're fully charged, if you hire it all the way to the top brightness and then you minus it by three, this should give you over 2 hours. Have you experimented with that?
I did. We charged them up fully and we put them on high blast and they all died out starting at an hour and 57 minutes to 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Okay, so do this with when you have time. Do this. Take at least one light, one RGB light,
Okay.
fully power it, fully charge it for me, please.
Okay.
And then when you turn it up all the way, when you turn the brightness all the way up, minus the brightness by three notches, by three levels.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
minus it by three levels. Do your thing again, time it, and you'll see that it'll give you like maybe 3 hours, which is crazy because
Okay.
these lights right here, you don't want to keep them too far away from the booth. You want to keep these lights as close to the arm as possible. That way you don't have to turn the brightness all the way up, and then the attendee's face is not overexposed by light, and you get this perfect amount of lighting. So try that. Try to keep your RGB lights close to the arm, and I think you'll be fine. because I've gotten 3 hours out of these RGB lights with those settings. And if we're using the same ones, our batteries are 2600 millihertz. So that should be able to take you up to 3 hours without it being on super bright. What else? And this right here, do you have the other ones that have strobe light and then do all kinds of cool little lights and lasers and stuff? Do you have any of those?
I have like the small laser,
The small
the
one?
little small, yes.
That one has an integrated battery, like a battery, internal battery.
I No, I have to like plug it up into something.
You have to plug it in. Okay. Um, I don't know how many watts it is, but I'm sure that if you can plug it either to one of these. The reason I bring this one up is because I have my other lights. This one right over here. This one.
Okay.
So this one I can
Okay.
connect to my anchor. I can actually connect two of these to my anchor, and it'll give me over 3 hours. These don't suck up much power at all.
Okay. Okay.
So
And that's the large laser light, right?
these are the large ones. So I usually take two of these to the event, and
Okay.
the two of these lasers right here, Clarice, are connected here. And what I've done is I have an adapter where I can put in one adapter that has two females, and I'll add the two females from the two lights that I'm using, hook it up to this here, and it'll tell me how much power it's eating up right here. And like I said, I've been to events where these things will last me 3 hours with this anchor right here.
Okay. Okay.
Fog machines too, you need direct current, either direct current from the wall or a generator. I've been thinking of a generator because there's situations where they want the whole shebang, but there's like nothing really close as far as outlets go. So the next thing is like, wow, I don't want to spend $1,200, $1,000 on a generator because
Yes.
you know it's a seasonal thing where we're going to be way busier in some months than other months with this business. And what I did is I bought extension cords. I have 100 feet worth of extension cord, and that keeps me from spending a lot of money on a generator by having a good amount of extension cords.
So I was like, with the photo booth, you can plug that into the anchor.
I tried it with the anchor. Wait, no. That's inaccurate. What did I try with the anchor? The fog machines. The fog machines will work with the anchor. The photo
Okay.
booth. You know what's interesting? I've never tried to connect my photo booth to my anchor before, Grace. So guess what we're about to do?
Okay.
We're about to hook it up. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. A thing that you must have. You gotta have that Google profile, big time.
So do you use your home address?
Yeah, I use my home address. And then so if someone's looking for the 360 booth service and they are, let's say, 15 minutes away from my home address, then I'll pop up because it shows my address being close to them as a business. So I'm gonna hook it up here to the anchor.
Right, moment of truth.
Yeah.
And so the way you do your lighting, you never have to like recharge in the middle of an event.
No, and also I have my U200 light, which supplements everything else. The U200 light, this one right here,
Okay.
that goes on the arm. The U200 light is definitely like one of my homies as well when I'm out doing events. This thing is also will last you 3 hours, just depending on how you're manipulating the brightness. And here we are. Let me go ahead and press power. Okay, so that's connected to the motor. And does it show here? Connect to the plug. All right, I'm gonna press the controller here. So yeah, do you hear it?
I hear it. Oh, I see it. Yeah, I see it moving too.
I disconnected the arm because I don't have enough clearance to get all my junk. Yeah, it's just I'm always here doing little projects here. So it's going and it's spinning right now. And as it's spinning, I can come over to my anchor. On my anchor, I can see how much juice it's eating up. Wow. So it's only eating up 6 watts. That's a little bit. So it's eating up 6 watts. My booth is eating up 6 watts right now, and I'm at 77%. And then it says if I keep it up at 6 watts, meaning I keep this thing going on just like this without even pausing it, it says it's gonna give me about 16 hours.
Mm.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so that's what I'm using. But yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation. I've never really been curious enough to connect it to my Anchor because I have the other, the smaller, more compact style, which is this style right here. This is all I really need.
Okay.
And I slide this right under the booth, and the booth is basically, people can't see any wires coming out of the booth. I love this one. This one right here will last you over 3 hours as well. I have 2 of these.
Oh, that's the talent cell.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, so you never plug your booth up. You just use that.
Always, yeah, always. That's why I'm not very,
Oh,
that's why I'm not
okay.
limited to where I get set up, because I could take my booth anywhere as long as I have my
Okay.
talent cell with me, and the ground is for the most part pretty even. You want to have a surface that's pretty much flat so that when you put your booth on there, it doesn't rock too much and then create. You don't want whack videos. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. All right, so I'm gonna turn it off. Sweet. That's very cool.
That's good to
Yeah,
know.
it only eats up
Okay.
6 watts. That's nothing. That's great. Yeah.
Okay. So those are very important then. Okay.
Alright.
So noted.
Yeah. So also, and if you're on a budget, that talent cell is a lot cheaper than that Anchor I just showed you. That Anchor is amazing. It's wonderful. But if I'm right, if I'm somewhere, I think it's around $250. I think.
Okay. The anchor. Okay.
Versus the town cell, uh, they range anywhere from $69 to $89 depending on where you buy it. I get mine on Amazon and I add insurance. I add a warranty to them, just in case one takes a dump. I can always make the claim and then I'll send it back and they'll send me another one, which is great. Always get insurance for your electronics, girl. Always.
Okay. Yes. That's good to know.
And like I said, I get most of my stuff on Amazon. Everything I get on Amazon, if it's from Amazon, I'll list it in the description so other operators can take a peek and see if they want it for their presentation as well.
Oh, the iPad.
Yeah, yeah,
So when purchasing an iPad, does it matter which one? I've seen the minis and the pros and
yeah. Try to go with the standard iPads, 6th generation and up. Uh,
okay.
don't go any older than that. Just because as we evolve as a 360 business and the 360 booth developers probably going to evolve too with their apps, I think that you'll be safe to buy an iPad 6th generation. And I like the regular size iPads versus the iPad minis because the whole point of getting the iPad is to have a screen big enough that people can navigate through, whether they're wearing their reading glasses that day or not. But yeah, you want a decent size iPad, and it makes your production look nice too when you have that display, that iPad right there, whether it's a few feet away from you, so you can kind of guide people from afar. Like, oh, it's the iPad is not doing this. Oh, go ahead and do that and that. Oh, okay. But you're still, have an eye on the rotating arm, making sure you're always focused as that arm is spinning. And people are pretty patient too at these events.
Okay. So obviously it's going to be the sharing station. And when you set it up, it's self-explanatory because as the sharing, because I've only dealt with Touchpix online to create the event and then on the phone to record it. I've never
So for
set
your
up.
yeah, so for your iPad on your phone, when you scan the QR code, you're gonna scan the QR code using your iPad as if you're gonna use it as a sharing station. Also, on your iPad, you have the option to do the online sync where whatever videos are being uploaded for that event, the iPad will start picking up those videos. And what you can also do is you can use the iPad as a receiver mode where your iPhone is used as the active sender and your iPad is set up to be the active receiver. So as soon as your video is finished downloading on your phone is basically in a sense sending those videos to your iPad, and your iPad is acting as the receiver, which is like simple settings you're gonna do on your iPad. Don't know if I have an iPad nearby. So another rule is get a tempered glass for your iPad. You know,
Okay.
get a pencil
Okay.
down to your iPad. Touchpix. We're learning and we're going. Just keep it going.
Yes, exactly.
So
When I first started, I didn't even have all these questions because I didn't go through the experience to even know. And it wasn't until I started practicing and doing the events that I'm like, okay, this
yeah, it's
is
all about the experience, and then at the end of the day, you're gonna start charging for your experience level because you got it down to a point where you know that wherever you're gonna go, as long as you have cellular service, you're gonna rock it out. You're gonna kill it. You know that's just for sure because you have all your tools with you, and I'm at that point right now, and I'm at a point where now I gotta outdo that. Like, okay, so I got familiar with this, I got familiar with that, but what else can I do now? And that's something you just gotta like go to sleep staring at the ceiling thinking about. That's what I do. I think too much.
yeah, and that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waking up out of my sleep writing stuff down. So yeah.
Yeah, especially when you go through the phase of trying to come up with a business name. Man, you think
Oh
about
my
that one too
goodness.
much, right? Let me see if I can show you this because I have an appointment coming up at 7:15 and I don't want to
Okay.
overlap. So let me go ahead and check
And
this.
then real quick while you're looking for that,
Yeah, yeah.
for a tablecloth for the prop table, do you have like your logo on that? You
I
know
have
how they have the tablecloth that like hugs the table?
I have both. I have one with my
Yes. Okay.
logo. I ordered two of those. I got those on Alibaba. I bought two of those for like I want to say I spent $100 or $130 for two customized tablecloths, and that's a steal.
Okay.
But I got them from
Okay.
Alibaba. I got them from China, right?
Okay.
Because if you get them from Staples here in California or in the U.S. for two tablecloths, you're gonna pay well over $300 easily.
Ooh.
Yeah,
So is that vendor in your profile to get the tablecloth from?
it's not. But if you go to Alibaba, here, let me. If you go to Alibaba and you put in customized tablecloths, you get all the vendors. And just like when you order your 360 booth, just make sure you you select trade assurance and verified. If you select
Got
the
it.
two, you'll be dealing with a decent supplier.
Okay.
Let me see if I can activate here. All right, cool. So this is my iPad. I'm gonna go to Touchpix right here, and I'm gonna go to Activate Event, and I'm gonna go to Sharing Station, and then for this one, I'm gonna go to Receiver. I was explaining earlier how you can have your iPad set as a receiver. I'm gonna go to Receiver, and now on my phone, I'm gonna disconnect my iPad, connect it to my phone, so you can see the steps on my phone. So the iPad is waiting for the connection on my phone. Can you see my phone, Clarice?
Again.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to Gallery on the top right, and then I'm gonna hit the S over here, and I'm gonna activate this as a sender. And it says enable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I'm gonna go ahead and enable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Activate as sender. And you see how it recognized the iPad by itself.
Yes.
So I'm
Hmm.
gonna select iPad, and then it says connected. You can leave the gallery screen. All files will be sent to the receiver. So now I'm gonna come over to the iPad. Okay, this is the iPad. I'm gonna go to gallery, top right of the iPad, and you want to make sure that the R is in neon green. That means it's been activated to be a receiver.
Okay.
Oh,
And so that, and then,
I had a video pending, so it sent it to the iPad just now. So that's another method to use your iPad sharing station. And if you have a really good service, what you can also do is you can go to online sync. Online sync's right here on your iPad. And the online sync means whatever video is finished downloading to your phone are going to be uploaded to your iPad. So just different methods of doing it. I always throughout the events, I always use whatever's working best for me. So I'll try both if one of them seems like there's too much of a delay, and it goes back down to your reception and if Touchpix is running smoothly that night. You never know. Just saying.
yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
But yeah, we're about a little over an hour.
Yeah,
Clarice,
I see it.
but we definitely covered a lot of great points, and I'm very happy that you brought up some really good questions. You made me work hard for my money tonight, which is great. Um, yeah, so I feel like you're gonna have a lot of success because not only are you curious, but you take action after you come up with like ideas because you're pondering, right? And as a business owner, it just
Yeah.
haunts us. Like we're always trying to improve. So big ups on that, mentality. It's a great mentality to have. And like I said, iPad minimum. Try to keep it iPad sixth generation and up, and you can buy a used one, just as long as it doesn't have any iCloud lock onto it. Like an iCloud lock, you want it to make sure it's fully accessible. You don't have to go and blow a bunch of money on a brand new iPad. These things are pretty expensive brand new.
Thank you. I appreciate everything, all your questions and hard work. And I'll probably be booking again
Yeah,
once I.
when you get to the next level, when you get to that next big step, which is a website, yeah, we'll reconnect, and then by then I'm sure you'll have new stories to share with me, new victories and challenges.